Good morning, everybody. Bonjour, that's hello in Potawatomi. This is Neshi Lilcots. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page and the live stream about the card draw for the day. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. It's gorgeous here. It's 70 degrees and blue skies. It's my favorite kind of morning. It's not really humid. Yesterday it was so humid. Um, yeah, it was really humid yesterday here. So today's Wednesday, June 13th. And I woke up this morning. I was tired. I remember when the alarm went off, I was just, oh no, because I only got like maybe 5 hours sleep. My own fault, nobody else's. Paul started his new shift work. He's on second shift now. And so he gets home about 11:30 or so. And it was his first night, and I wanted to kind of wait up for him and see how things went and, spend a little time together. Well, we just started talking, and before we know it, it's 12:15. And by the time I'm actually in bed, it was quite late. Oh my gosh. But when I was actually up, I felt good. I don't know if you guys felt this, but the energy is different this morning. Today it feels lighter. It feels happier. More joyful is probably a better way to phrase that. More joyful. I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm not a morning person, never have been. I get my most energy at like 9:30 at night, and some people call it the second wind, but no, that's when I'm prepared to sit down and be creative and get to work, and so it leaves a very tired morning when you do that kind of stuff. Well, good morning, everybody. Rochelle's here. Yay, Rochelle's in the house. Elise, good morning, and good morning to Mary, too. Good morning, Mary. I know you're probably there listening with your own computer, right? I'm so glad you guys are with me this morning. And Jocelyn is in the house, too. I see she joined. That's great. I love it. It's 70 degrees here and beautiful, beautiful out. There is this, for me, there's this joyfulness and hopefulness in the air, and it proved it by the cards that were drawn this morning. There was, let me explain just a little bit, just in case there's somebody who is joining us or going to be watching the recording, right? Or listening to SoundCloud, because it's going to SoundCloud too. Is that I decided in May to start sharing about the card draw, because I was doing it anyway, right? And I thought that maybe those in our community here at Star Nations would really enjoy hearing about the backstory, the background of the card draw. And then we can actually have a conversation about spirit and the meaning of the cards and that kind of thing. And so I had started using Jamie Sam's cards. Let's see if we can get that in there. The Sacred Path cards deck. And prior to that, I'm getting warm. Prior to that, I was using the Sweat Lodge cards. And we'll use those too. It's just right now I'm really into Jamie Sam's cards. And so I draw a card every morning. And this morning, I'll show you what we got. We've had this card before, but I have to say that given today's energy, I can kind of understand why we would get this one. The Standing People, Roots and Giving. And look at that artwork on there. Roots and Giving, the Standing People, better known as trees. In my world, where they're called the Tree Nations, the Tree People, right? And then this card came up first. And as I was getting ready to put the cards away, this one slid out. And we had that one yesterday, the Cradleboard, the ability to respond, right? Yeah. Good morning, Jane. Thank you for joining us this morning. Gosh, before I get started with the cards, got your beverage. Wait, got to turn it this way. Keep forgetting to use this one, my Star Nations. It's a brand new mug. This morning I've got tea in here. Tea. It's good stuff. So the standing people, after I read the information and kind of sat with it for a while, I was asking my spiritual team, we've gotten this card, I think, two previous times. And so what is most important for us to know about this particular card today, since we've had it before? And they really were very, very clear about the giving part, because trees give us so much, right? They support the entire environment around them. They give us oxygen for all of us. They provide shade. Depending on what kind of tree they are, they actually help provide our homes. They are homes, the home to other relatives like squirrels and birds and bugs and, those who crawl. Trees do and give a lot to everybody else, all their other relatives. And as I'm sitting here, I have a Joshi screen usually in front of me to help with the sound, right? Because otherwise it sounds a little echoey. But I didn't put that up this morning, so I can look out the French doors, and so I can see the trees. And we have a lot of maple trees here, and so we also get food from our trees. Paul taps the maple trees every year, and it's just enough for us to last us through the year, to have our own maple syrup. And so we don't use chemicals here. And we've lived here for over 10 years. And so, it's as close to possible organic, than what we can buy out there for a lot of money. So anyway, trees give us a lot. They give a lot. And when you see the picture here, they're also talking about roots. And how many of us have connected with a tree to learn how to be grounded? If you're not having a really good day, and it seems like you're not really completely in your body, that you can go outside and you can see if a tree will be willing to help you, and they usually are. For you to go and sit next to them, to sit up against them, and they will help you to ground. They will help you to be more in your body. So they give a lot. And I was thinking, okay, so we also know that there is this balance of giving and receiving, right? So for as much as trees give us all over Grandmother Earth, not just in our own little backyard, but all over Grandmother Earth, what do we do to reciprocate? What do we do to give back, to give to the trees in that balance of giving and receiving? So I sat with that for a little bit. Because I remember when we built this building, the Star Nations Academy, it's about not quite a block. Well, maybe it is about a block from the main house, from my home. And we had purchased the lot. It was an empty lot next to us. And as we were going to start building, even before we planned out where the building was going to go, I came out here and I brought my drum, and I spent some time out here with the trees, drumming for them, being grateful to them. And I'm still grateful to them, and be grateful for everything that they've done for us here, and actually drumming for the spirit of those trees who we knew that some of them obviously were going to be cut in order to fit the building in, right? And so I drummed for them, and I was out here quite a while with them. And then when Paul and the contractor, they measured out where the building was going to go, and they staked it out, so we knew exactly where the building was going to go and what trees were going to get cut. And I was out here for that as we were marking the trees. And I had brought my tobacco out, and I was doing a tobacco ceremony for those trees and putting tobacco down for them, thanking them, and for their sacrifice, right? So that we can have this building here and do the work that we were meant to do here. That was a sad day, sad day when that first tree was cut. I couldn't be up here for that. I was down at the house pacing, praying, knowing that the trees knew, and we did a ceremony for them, and so they were taken care of. They were blessed, and when that first tree fell, I cried. I cried, and there's such a connection that we have with trees, and when it was all said and done, all the trees that were supposed to be cut were cut, and Paul and I did the removal ourselves. It was a lot of work. There's a lot of branches. There was a lot. And so anyway, we ended up cording the wood. We could not find anybody to take the wood. Now, I know lots of people who heat with wood, whether they heat their garage or their home, or I know a lot of people who heat with wood, and it was too far for them to come. They didn't have the truck. There were so many different things that came up that they couldn't take it. And I'm standing here one day, almost 6 months later, thinking, we have these corded wood. They're getting nice and dry. Why can't? Well, then I flashed on the ceremony. And so I had promised that they would be used in a good way. That, that the wood would be burned, or they would be made into something that their lives would not be wasted. Well, we finally did find somebody to take the wood to heat their homes. And you know what? It was somebody who worked with Paul, and her husband had been injured, and so they weren't able to get out and cut as much wood to heat their home. And they were kind of living less than check to begin with. And so when Paul was telling me about that, I said, maybe if they want the wood, they can take the wood. And so they came out and they worked really hard to get to get the wood up into the trailers, and so it went really, really smoothly. So that particular family, obviously, it was meant that wood that had been blessed in its tobacco ceremony went to that family. Okay, so I'm telling you this story because it made when I saw this card, I was thinking about what do we do as two-leggeds, as humans, to help give back, to reciprocate, to have that balance of giving and receiving, right? And because the trees, they give us so much. So what do we do? What do we do? And I realized that sometimes it's not, prayers are great. Praying is one of the things that we can all do for each other, whether we're standing people, the trees, or whether we're each other, right? We can do that, and it's great. And here at Star Nations, we do that quite a bit for each other. We hold that sacred space for each other. And I was thinking, but what kind of action do we put behind those prayers? And it doesn't have to be a huge, action where, and maybe you're one of those people who feel very comfortable and want to do this. You're called to do it, to be that activist, to go and stand on the front line, to stop, an oil pipeline going through, that kind of thing. And if you're able to do that, I love you. I support everything that goes with that. In a peaceful and prayerful way. But I thought, you know what? Even the tiniest action carries a lot of meaning to it. So even if we're out there picking up garbage, recycling, that kind of stuff, like we do on Earth Day, right? The tiniest things, recycling in our own homes, those actions, I think, carry a lot of weight to it, and it's a way to honor and respect the standing people, so that when we do use paper products, that we're recycling them, because a sentient being is a part of that product. Their energy, their life force imprint. The imprint is still on those products, and to be grateful. So even in the smallest ways, we can have that balance of giving and receiving. And so the roots on here, Jamie Sam actually talks about the ancestors too. The ancestors, that the tree roots are like our ancestors. And I was thinking that it reminded me of my ancestors here in Wisconsin, near Wisconsin Rapids. It's called Powers Bluff. It's a county park now. But my ancestors, my relatives, Potawatomi relatives and some Ho-Chunk relatives, they lived up on that hill. It was a village at one time. And in Potawatomi, it's Paquakeek, Skunk Hill, Paquakeek. And that's where my grandparents, my mother's parents, started their family, was up on that hill. So my old, let's see, that would have been my oldest aunt, Mabel. She passed away when she was a toddler, and she was born on that hill. And my uncle was born on that hill, and over in it's called Vesper, Wisconsin, and Paquakeek. But there's also a burial ground up there, and there's so many trees in that county park. And the burial ground is amongst the trees. And in the Potawatomi tradition, the grave site, they're interned, the body is put into the ground, but above ground is they're called spirit houses or spirit boxes. They cover a portion of the top of the ground where the coffin is or the casket is, and it's like they have a little roof on it. It looks like a little house, and it's got an opening that the spirit can move through. And so some of those grave sites still have those old, the ancestors have those spirit houses on them. And we were trying to protect that hill a few years ago. The county wanted to go in and clear cut the trees, and it was the Potawatomi, the Ho-Chunk, and the Menominee Nation here in Wisconsin, and also the Potawatomi from Kansas, which is where my reservation is. And we stood together to say no. And we were actually going to buy that county land, just so that that my nation, the Potawatomi Nation, was going to do that, just so that we could protect the trees and protect the ancestors, because the ancestors were there. And when they did a ground resonating, it's like an ultrasound, right? Because it bounces the sound down, and you can see what's underneath the ground without digging. And so they could see the grave sites. And someone went out and actually did some dowsing to see, because there's other burial sites there that are not marked. And what they got back from their dowsing was that there was ancestors everywhere, everywhere, the remains and the energy. And so, of course, the county kind of rolled their eyes at that, but that told me a lot, that when our bodies break down, because when we return to Grandmother Earth, that our bodies are still there. You can still sense them in the ground, in the trees, in the roots. So when I read this part this morning, that's what reminded me of the roots. And so when we're talking about the balance of giving and receiving and how much trees the standing people give to us, for my relatives, my blood relatives, they literally hold the energy of the ancestors on that hill. Yeah. I think I'll try to find some pictures of Pakwakik, and I'll post them in the comments so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to check the chat here because I'm a little behind. Let's see, Jocelyn, Rochelle, Elise, Jane, and let's see. Rochelle says you're talking to me, and I don't know. No, Neshi. All right, so I don't see what your question. Let me know about tomorrow, the 14th. Okay, you have to give me a little bit more about what you're talking about, Elise. I'd be happy to let you know, but I need to know a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so what does that have to do with the Cradleboard, right? We covered that yesterday, the Cradleboard. And the Cradleboard was about protecting the baby, right? That's what the Cradleboard does. And what Jamie Sams was writing about was protecting through our decisions. The decisions that we make today affect the future. And the decisions we make today affect the next 7 generations. And so I think that's how these two go together, is that the decisions that we make today about giving and about the honoring and respecting trees, the standing people, the tree nations, that when we do that, we're actually protecting Grandmother Earth for the future, for the future children, the children. And it doesn't matter what race they are. It's the children. It's the next 7 generations. And so how do we take that? What do we do with that? In our own way, in our own homes, in our own lives. And that's where I came to the point where I was thinking about, even in the smallest ways, even if it's when you're doing ceremony, is to include the trees, blessing of the trees. When you're doing recycling, or when you're picking up products, it's like how is being grateful for that life of that tree that was given for that. All right, so Elise says, don't mean to be disrespectful. I plan on being cremated and made into brownies and taken to the potluck of my choice. Sorry, but I'm not right. Yeah. Well, you know what? Here is something that I shared once with my parents a long time ago. It upset my dad quite a bit. I don't know. In a lot of traditions, and including mine, we don't talk about our plans for our bodies after our spirit leaves it, right? When we die. We wait until afterwards, and our relatives have to figure that out for us. But anyway, I was talking to them about this, and I said, yeah. I want to be cremated, and I want there to be a party. I want a really beautiful urn, and I want it to be placed on a round table in the middle of this party, and so people can, we'll create this around on the table. People can bring stones and crystals to add to it, and tchotchkes, that kind of stuff, and to have a party and to celebrate. And out of all that, the only word my dad caught was cremated. And he was like, you can't do that. I said, why not? why not? And he said, because he says, when you come back, you're not going to have a body. I'm now here we have two differing belief systems about reincarnation or not reincarnation, right? And he was really upset with me. And I said, yeah, but I've had other lives, so I think I'll choose the body that I want to come back in then. If this one is going to get burned, then I must have been interned in a different lifetime. And so I'll use that one. And he didn't like that either. And talk about thinking, he was thinking I was being really irreverent, and no, but I know exactly what I want. And Paul knows what I want. I want to be put in my medicine dress with my moccasins and my eagle feather and my shawl. And and I want to be cremated. And so anyway, I can kind of understand, Elise, what you're saying. I don't know if I would want to be the brownie piece, but and I want my dog's ashes with me, because we cremated our two dogs, and I want them with me, and their ashes with me. So I'd rather have my body feed Grandmother Earth and the surrounding environment, just like my relatives did. And because, back then they didn't embalm anybody. And so their remains really did feed the earth, And so, so you're not that far off the mark, Elise. You want to talk between 1 and 4. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. Was that on the 14th? Tomorrow is Thursday. Yeah. I think I can still do that. We'll do that. Rochelle's saying, I planted a red maple in honor of my late husband in the front yard. Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet, Rochelle. I love red maples. I really do, because it's how they change color in the fall. They're beautiful, beautiful. And so, yeah, and that's another way the tree nations, the standing people, give back to us, right? How many people have planted, like Rochelle did, in a memoriam, a memory of someone, whether it's because of their passing or because of their birth. How many parents and grandparents have planted a tree for that first grandchild? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. And Lisa's saying, I plan on celebrating after the brownies are eaten. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure that when that party occurs, somebody could bring some special brownies, old school, to add to the party, if you know what I mean, because that's not legal here in Wisconsin. Colorado, maybe. Is there some eastern states where marijuana is legal? Somebody know that? I don't think Michigan is legal there. So Rochelle is saying, I'm going to donate my body to science like my late husband, and sprinkle my ashes in Lake Superior in Lake Michigan. Oh, sure. Why not? Why not? Everybody's belief is different. And if you feel like helping it's actually a humanitarian effort, right? Is to, when you do that kind of donation, so that science, doctors have a way of being able to further their research, right? Yeah. So, tree people, standing people. I just want to say that this is what Jamie Sams writes in the application. She said, this card speaks to us of roots and giving. We must nurture ourselves through the connection to the earth in order to give freely without exhaustion. The root of the self is where the strength is gathered. I like that. The root of the self is where strength is gathered. This root should be firmly earthed in the soil of our mother planet. Without this connection, dreams cannot manifest, and our giving cannot be compensated by the Earth Mother. She says, be still and become the trees in order to observe what's growing in your forest. You know, that is maybe another piece, another way that we can, it's giving back, is when we take a moment in our busy day is to go outside or to be able to see the trees and to connect with them. Is just to connect with them, just to say thank you, or, you know, especially like Rochelle did when she planted that tree out in her front yard, is to make a connection with that living being. A sentient being is that tree, has a spirit, is to connect with that spirit of that tree and get to know each other, right, in a more personal way. And so there's something that two-leggeds, us humans, have in our brain. We're hardwired for it, if you will, is that we protect what we love. We protect what we love. And so when we acknowledge our love for our environment, our trees, the water, grandmother Earth, when we recognize that and we claim it, that we love this, it's very easy for us to protect it because we're hardwired to do it. We protect our children, we protect our pets, we protect our homes, we protect what we love. And so when you, like any other relationship, you have to nurture it, right? Get to know each other and spend time together. And maybe that is the way that we give back. Including them in our prayers is great, and we should do that. But to add action to that prayer, and maybe it's just communing with them, being with them, taking time out of our busy day to connect with them. She says that standing people are asking you to give of yourself. Ask yourself if you're willing to give and receive. Count the root of every blessing with gratitude. Find any blockage that limits your root system or your ability to go deeper. That's the application of this card. Right? Yeah, I like that. And the poem, I really like Jamie Sams as a poet. I do. Rochelle is saying, I'm going to donate my body. Okay, read that one. Rochelle says, I talk to my trees and touch them. Well, that's what I'm talking about, Rochelle, is to be able to take the time and really connect with them. Maybe it's just one tree, you know, that you really make that connection with. It's spirit to spirit, soul to soul. Yeah. I like it. Feels good. Standing people poem. Aho, sacred tree of life, the root of every tree. Thank you for giving the gifts you give to me. Aho, standing people, from you I will learn to keep my roots well planted, yet reach for grandfather's son. Aho, willow tree of love, teach me to bend till I come full circle, each relation as my friend. Each relation as my friend. I like that. Yeah. And, you know, I explained a few days ago about Jamie Sams, the author of this, of this book and the deck of cards. They were published in 1990. And so some of the information, the sentences, the jargon, the words that she used, you can tell. You can tell that was written, you know, in that decade. And so even the use of the term aho, there's quite a controversy over that. Yeah. In the three languages that I know of in the indigenous world, Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and just a tiny, 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 tiny little bit of Lakota. Aho is a word that is used by men, by the males in the tribe, in the nation. The women use a little bit differing word in each one of those nations. In the Potawatomi, it's a how, and not a ho, but a how. A how is loosely translated to okay. Okay. A how. And so you'll hear a lot of women saying that, and men say it too. But the aho in a lot of indigenous nations is really a word that a man would use. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong to use it. It's just you have to know the context. And I think that in the 70s and 80s, that's where that word kind of got picked up by non-native speaking people, and and used. So I'm just that's a little piece of education right there. Yeah. So today, Wednesday, for 3 days now, I've been wanting to do. My intention has been to do another live stream using Be Live TV, the app, to promote and share with you the June issue of the magazine. And I'm going to do that today to highlight the articles that are on the cover. So watch for that. It'll probably be this afternoon after lunchtime, after Mom is all taken care of and done. This evening, early this evening, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, is Polly Joe's show, Soul Connections. And that particular time with Polly Joe isn't like any show that we normally do. It really is about healing. It really is about Polly Joe using her gifts to channel a space for us, a sacred space for us to work with our spiritual teams individually to heal, to remove blocks, to set our own intention to what we need for that hour of healing. Because part of her mission here is to heal the healer. And so if you're a light worker of any kind and you haven't spent much time on yourself, this particular time with Polly Joe on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern is meant for you. Is meant for us to be able to do that. And if you are a light worker who is going through a vibrational change, and what does she mean by that, right? When we go through a vibrational change, when we're going through soul growth, a lot of times we have growing pains, we have ascension symptoms. Sometimes you have headaches, sometimes you have body aches, sometimes you feel like you're coming down with the flu, but it's not the flu. Everything you tried to feel better, over-the-counter stuff doesn't work. That's how you can tell that it's an ascension thing. There's a whole lot of us going through that right now, in one way, shape, or form. And I realized that last night. Why? Because I was in my show, Communications from Home. I had the Ortrun and Carl Franklin as my guests. And we were talking about the ego and dissolving of the ego. And actually, it's more of a transformation of the third dimensional ego. Because we, the two-leggeds, have to match or come really darn close to Grandmother Earth's vibration in order for us to continue to be here with her, right? And so our bodies are doing that. Our soul is doing it. And so a lot of us are feeling those growing pains. And so spending time in a healing session like Polly Jo is offering, or any other ones that are available to you, as a healer, as a light worker, I'm encouraging you to do that, making this a very strong suggestion to get some help, to be able to go through the ascension process, that vibrational shift, a little bit more comfortably. It's still going to happen. You're still going to have some knowledge that you are going through something. Some are calling it another dark night of the soul, because when we resist it, our soul is leading the way. And so the soul is going to do what it needs to do to get to that vibrational level. And so the more we resist it, the more intense those ascension symptoms are. All right. Elise is saying she's been talking to me about healing and to get together when she comes in October. Oh, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, she's going to be here. I think it's October 5th and 6th. Gosh, that's another thing I got to get that posted, how to register for those classes. All right. And so Rochelle is saying my white matter of my brain, the blood vessels are leaking, have trouble with word finding, balance, short-term memory loss. Seeing a neurologist in late July. Oh, they're concerned about a stroke. Yeah. Like I said, Rochelle, there's so many people going through stuff right now. And some of it is definitely ascension systems, but symptoms. But you also have to know that there's when it reaches our physical body in that way, it has been around for quite a while, because it takes time, earth time, for it to come through our different energy bodies. And by the time it reaches our physical body, it has been out there in our auric field for a long time. And so, yeah, I agree with Elise. Contact Polly Jo. I don't know how she can help you, or if she can help you, but it's worth a discussion, a conversation with her, and maybe helping you get to the root of the situation, and to be able to, so that you can help your medical team, because it's your body, right? Don't hand over all of your power to them. You're in charge, so to speak. All right. So, Rochelle, I know that you have let us know through the spiritual healing group about this, and now that you've mentioned it out loud here at Star Nations, you know that we will hold that sacred space for you, that will hold you close to our hearts. And really, I agree with Elise. Contact Polly Jo. She talk to her and see if there's something that she can do to assist. Okay. All right. And let us know how it goes. Yeah. So with that, enjoy your Wednesdays, and connect with a tree. Be grateful to a tree. Yeah. All right. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the next card draw. And in Potawatomi, it's Bamamina. And that is until we see each other again. Love you guys. Talk to you later.